Hey YouTube, I'm back and I brought a friend. This is my best friend Michael. Michael, please introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Mike and I like rosé.
Okay, so I brought Mike because right now we are studying in my anthropology class about different genders, different races, sexuality, and Michael has a few good stories to share with you. First, I wanted to talk about, so as some of you may not know, but I am engaged. Not to Michael, but
She wishes.
So Michael is actually going to be, instead of a maid of honor, I have a man of honor. So I wanted him to give a little bit of detail about how it is to be kind of out of the norm and in a different gender role than most people would be used to, and to talk about the little differences that we're doing with this wedding, seeing as how I have a man instead of a female. Michael, take it away.
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question. I was totally never opposed to being a man of honor and was hoping to have that position. But now that I'm actually in it, I'm starting to think of what it actually entails to be, the lead of a wedding party and to stand in front of not only Sasha, all of her friends, all of her fiance's friends, but her family too, and her fiance's family, and the different people that may not totally understand where this whole decision is coming from.
So my fiance's family is a little bit more traditional than mine. A little bit more traditional. Do you think that they are going to be unexpecting of a male man of honor?
I definitely think so. I think that, definitely, I've heard of this before. I've seen the movie Man of Honor.
Patrick Dempsey, solid choice.
Which is a little different scenario. I think it's for somebody that's not used to it and not used to an untraditional wedding party. It might come as a little bit of a surprise, and it's really for those old folks that are kind of like, this is not like the norm. This isn't like what should happen. I mean, when you like picture it in your mind, like if you're looking up at the altar and then you see the bride in her dress, the groom in his tuxedos, and then all the groomsmen in their tuxedos, and then all the bridesmaids in their dresses except for one person in a tuxedo, it's like, oh, this is totally a little bit untraditional and outside of the norm, so it's kind of scary, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like what would be something good term to describe that this is something different that just isn't. I don't think that it would be unaccepted necessarily by the family. I think that they're like open to the idea of being open, but when it comes to like a scenario where it's now this is happening in their family and they're being like introduced to it, it's kind of freaky that you have to stand up there and then make a speech and
and not just with my fiance's family, like everybody, like
with everybody, your
grandparents,
family.
It's just it's different. We are going untraditional route.
Mm-hmm.
We actually just read about in one of the last chapters about the idea of a white wedding and how heterosexuality has kind of taken over and become like, not has taken over, it has the idea of a white wedding being a heterosexual white woman and white man has kind of made it feel like that is the only way to do it. And so I feel like we're kind of breaking out of I still am marrying a white male, and I still am a white female.
And I'm a white male too.
Yeah. But you, being an openly proud gay man, we are changing cultural norms.
And I think that's, I think what's great about it is that totally, like, this is, non-traditional social norm, but also about how the fact that, like, this is okay. Like, this is fine. Like, it was never, like, I think in our minds, like, never, ever an issue. Like, like, this would be inappropriate for you to be the man of honor in my wedding.
Think twice. As soon as I got engaged, I was like, well.
But I mean, like, think about that. Think about, like, think of how many brides, like, would, maybe have a gay best friend that would be their closest friend. And they'd be like, unfortunately, you can't be my wedding party because, you're a man. Not even just because you're gay, but you're a man. You can't be my wedding party. I mean, I've heard of, men that have, straight
Female-
girlfriends that
female friends.
aren't lesbian or gay, and they have them in their wedding party. So it's just even that in itself, I think, is just changing of the social norms and
Our culture is evolving.
oh, for sure. I mean, it wasn't even like a thought that this would be something odd for us to do. But it's interesting because that's like very much so our open-minded generation, you know, for a lot of it, yeah. Compared to we're going to be in front of people that, you know, got married, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago that never would have even considered that. So that would be interesting to see.
Agreed.
And I honestly think that a lot of people are going to comment on it at the wedding, especially I feel like if I give a speech, when I give the speech, like people will come up afterwards and be like, wow, like, you know, like this is so great that like Sasha, you know, had you in her wedding party, like how different, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like
it's definitely going to be. I know my family on my mom's side is more raised in a Jewish conservative Jewish household, and so definitely not how they would have had their wedding done. But again, different now, 30, 40, 50 years ago, like you said. So cheers to the wedding and to my man of honor. So next topic, I wanted to. We also learned about gender and gender identities, and I was hoping, if it wasn't too much for you, if you could describe or just explain the story about the relationship you had, and how it just kind of didn't go as planned.
okay, so I had I met this guy, and we really hit off and connected with each other. We went on several dates for a couple of weeks. I really liked him, and I thought that we were a really good match. And then something happened where I, at my job, you know, I work a normal professional job, and then in a TV industry environment, and then I was asked to...
He's being a little shy. He works for Bravo on an awesome TV show.
Yes, I work for Watch What Happens Live, and you know, I was a production assistant there. This was a couple of years ago, and this is when I had some opportunities to be on the camera, and they wanted me to dress up as a woman to be Donatella Versace on camera, and I was really, really excited about it. And I found out while I was on a date with him that I got the confirmation to dress up as her for the show
On live national television.
on live national television. And so I had done it once before, but this was like the next one, and I was like, this was like the big ticket. This was I was going to be on TV, and I got so excited, and I was with him on the date, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and like he had already known that I had done this once, and then as soon as I told him, the date started going, you know, like totally like astray and wrong, and then by the end of the night, you know, I confronted him about it and was like, what's going on? And we wound up just like going our own separate ways and then not talking. So then I was texting him a couple days later about what had gone on, and he told me that he couldn't date somebody that does those types of things. Dressing up as a woman, someone that's effeminate. Yeah, and then I texted back, well, isn't it ironic that homophobia is so present within the gays? Because, yeah, he was not homophobic, I guess, really, but he was
Some form of...
phobic of, like...
it's like a discrimination
Femophobia?
against...
A discrimination against, yeah. And the funny part is that, like, I guess he thought that maybe I was gonna go down the route of becoming, like, a drag queen, which wasn't my intention.
And even if it was...
And even if it was, hey, who the fuck cares? Like, you know?
Language.
Sorry, who the freaking cares?
Sorry, Professor. I found that story very interesting because I think gender-wise, women in the relationship, or as I've recently studied, are typically not the dominant ones in the relationship. And I was always a little curious as to how the power roles went in a gay relationship. And I was so surprised that there was, not so surprised, I was more like disappointed, I guess, that there's discrimination within the same gender. It's like saying you're two men.
Well, I mean, and to elaborate on that point, like, that was a scenario where he was definitely not okay with the fact that being with an effeminate person. But then it goes even further to the whole topic of, like, who plays what role in a gay relationship. The whole top and bottom, like, everything is about top and bottom in the gay world. What are you, a top or a bottom? And it almost defines, are you the man or the woman? And deciding what role you take in a relationship is, like, it's kind of complicated in the gay one because it's not predefined.
Yeah.
So you have to figure it out on your own with each other, and through that define yourself as one or the other. You know, so there's a lot of...
That sucks. I wish that, like, so you know how now there's a huge feminist movement going on. It's almost frustrating that we have to define ourselves in a specific role. Like, you're either a feminist or you're not a feminist, or you're this type of gay or you're that type of gay. Like,
Yeah.
You just wonder when there's going to be an equality.
I wonder, though. I mean, it's not a horrible thing, I think, in the gay community to define yourself where you feel more comfortable.
Okay.
But it's just interesting to see how, like, it's interesting to see how people take that, and it has to be an extreme one or the other. Just like you were saying, like with male or female. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't have to be an extreme one or the other, and like it should be a harmonious, like, you go into a relationship or into whatever, meeting somebody with open minds about what roles play one that way. But then I guess some people like one role and like the other.
It's true, yeah. Some people are very comfortable in that.
Yeah.
I know there's been some talk about, so my fiance has a steady career on his hands. I am currently in school. I have 2 separate jobs, and have not a career right now. I am working towards a career. I am trying to make enough money to pay for school. I am trying to study hard to get to that point. But there has been jokes within my friend group or jokes within my family about, my fiance already has a career, why don't I just be a stay-at-home mom? That's not my plan. And I think with the way that society has changed and accepted the way that women do have power in relationships, in the workforce, in most social situations, I think I'm fully capable of also being the breadwinner in the family, bringing home the bacon sometimes, maybe like a little bit later down the road, but...
Or maybe more, vegetarian entree, but yeah, it's vegetarian.
I'm vegetarian. I'll bring home the tofu.
Tofu bacon.
It doesn't sound as forceful. But then that goes to show, why is bacon more forceful than tofu?
I don't know, but isn't breadwinner more forceful, and that's vegetarian?
Okay, yeah, I'll just stick with bread.
Bring home the bacon's like bring home that cake.
I'll bring home the cake too. I'll bring it all home. But yeah, so anyways, I just wanted, I have always wanted to be equal in my relationship. I wanted to equally contribute to the finances. I wanted to equally contribute to the family. I wanted to equally contribute socially and emotionally. Which I understand at times it's always going to be a push and pull. Things are going to be different places. But I think that women are equally as capable. Just as if I Yeah. So there's our rant on gender, and race, and sexuality. We didn't really get into race.
Yeah.
Next time, I'll bring
Next
it
time.
back.
Race is on the forefront, people. Let's talk about it.
All right, YouTube. Thanks for having us, and we will be back.